Hello, my name is Sam Clark, and this is a movie analysis of Johnathan Glazer's new science fiction film, Under the Skin. Many people are, well, actually, the one thumb note from a movie review of Under the Skin, which is shown in the trailer, states it to be Kubrickian, and I find this to be a really good analogy and a way to put this because I think Kubrick would have really enjoyed this movie, and this is certainly a Kubrick styled film. It's very much like 2001 with a bit of Hitchcock in it, being that it's very intense. But I really want to delve into kind of the ideas of the movie and the statements that it makes. So the movie starts off with the seeming development and transformation of Scarlett Johansson's insidious alien into a human being through shots. Um, Upon entrance into this foreign civilization, it is clear that Scarlett's perception of humanity is that they are essentially stupid animals feeding their sexual instincts and blindsided by their perception of beauty based on appearance. Her initial opinion is that humans have nothing profound under the skin. They're simply sexual beings determined to produce. Also, the idea of perceived beauty is shown in the woman she takes the clothes from, her observations of women in shopping malls applying beauty products, and how she adapts to this idea and buys her own lipstick and applies it. Her agenda is to harvest men, and obviously she has conceptualized that the way to do this is to appear beautiful to lure them in, specifically why she took the form of a beautiful woman. After time spent on Earth and harvesting instinctive males, she observes more and more and begins to realize there is more to humanity than what meets the eye, and she observes the nuances of human nature. In a scene where she is first exposed to blood, she seems to have a revelation. In my opinion, this is her first acknowledgement that there's something under the skin of these human beings, and that there is a lot going on inside of them. Scarlett's character immediately becomes fascinated with the race. Where before she was luring in horny men, she decides to try something new. She engages a hideous-looking man, a man who obviously isn't driven by his sexual instincts. She immediately has a connection with the man, and when she brings him back to her house to harvest him, because she's obviously just so fascinated with this new idea that she's conceived, and she thinks that that this is what she needs to do. She can't harvest him, and she ends up letting him go, which is just so against what her agenda was. I think this is a true realization that humanity isn't all about beauty on the outside, seeing how ugly this man is that she engages with, and it's a lot more about what's underneath. She stops harvesting men after this instance. However, she continues to witness ironies of human nature that interest her, seeing that there is good and bad in humanity. Her being exposed to the hideous man with a kind heart was surprising to her. She then is attacked by a group of men, and it is inferred that they were trying to rape her, this being an exposure to the negative aspects of human nature. From there, she seems lost and confused. There is a scene where she sits down at a restaurant and tries to eat a slice of cake, but is unable to. I believe that this scene is showing her desire to assimilate herself into assimilation, is the desire to assimilate herself into a civilization that she admires, because her species only has one agenda, and that is to harvest humans. Her species is very instinctive, but she actually shows many human traits of curiosity and empathy. On a bus, she meets a man who helps her on many occurrences and shows her compassion. She stays with him as he continues to do nice things for her, and this is her first exposure to compassion, another human trait. I feel as though this is also her first encounter with love, a notably positive aspect of human nature. In a scene, she examines herself in the mirror at the man's house and seems to be pleased with what she sees, and another scene where her and the man begin kissing and lead to foreplay. She shows passion and seems to be becoming very human, but they don't end up having sex. The man is unable to perform with her, and this is confusing to her. And the way I interpreted this is that she could have thought he was unable to perform because of her, and it was her fault because of how she's changed and has started to adapt to the human environment and civilization. And just like before, when she was a sexual temptress, and now she's starting to experience what's the word for it? Starting to experience like actual love and emotion. Uh, she thinks she kind of draws the line between sex and emotion and realizes there is more than one side to human nature. Um, she then sets out on an exploration through a forest, and there's a shot juxtaposing her body to the forest and blending the images of her laying down and the forest. And in my interpretation, this symbolizes that she has finally found a home on Earth within nature as she starts to connect with nature. Then the ending comes around where she is chased by a man who eventually tries to rape her. This is her first expression of true fear, another very human emotion. But when the man begins raping her, she appears to have another revelation. She takes off her costume or skin, revealing her true identity. This, in my opinion, is showing that she has experienced and observed so much about the goods and bads of human nature, and that the world is extremely gray, and humanity has so many layers that she finally comes to terms that she does not belong here. She reveals herself as a dark figure whose appearance shows no real eccentricities. She is completely black as she realizes that the world is very gray. It is because this species she is one layered and only has one goal. She longs to be more like a human, but in the end comes to terms with herself and realizes that all the complexities of humanity aren't who she is. The themes of this movie are light and dark human nature, perception of beauty, the ways humans interact with one another, and attempted assimilation into a certain culture. I really, really loved this movie. I think calling it Kubrickian is absolutely justified. The metaphoric symbolisms are just fantastic in the film, which I think Kubrick would have really appreciated. I think you can definitely draw similarities to 2001 because they're both such movies that promote visual storytelling and don't just feel like they need to further the plot along through dialogue, which is the last thing this movie does. It's all visual, and you really need to pay attention if you want to understand the themes of this movie. Um, Last thing I want to point out is that the director Johnathan Glazer actually used this movie almost as a social experimentation for his own exposure and examination of human nature. He The scenes where Scarlett Johansson is talking to the men in her van were all they were not staged at all. They got people on the streets of Scotland to come into her car and just talk to her, and it's really interesting to watch because in his own way he's allowing the viewer to be observant of human nature when you know what's actually going on. And the movie in itself is all about observations of human nature, an outside perspective observing human nature. So I think that's really it's interesting irony, and it just works. Everything about this movie works. It's original. It's beautiful to look at. The imagery is just incredible. It's ominous, and although it is slightly mimicking Kubrick's style, it's nice to see a movie that is so true to that certain style come out in 2014, so long after Kubrick's death, and execute it so well. Under the Skin is a great movie. This is my analysis. I'm Sam Clark. Thank you.